Thank you so much for your coming here, Zofia. I am very happy to welcome you here in Central Lille in France today.
Bonjour, my pleasure, yeah.
Bonjour. Could you please present yourself?
Sure. So I'm a faculty member, a research faculty member tenured at Texas A&M University, and I specialize in various areas of research, predominantly on lean, serious games and simulations, which is, I think, why we're here today.
Good. What does it mean for you? What is your definition of lean construction, please?
Sure. There are multiple definitions, but ultimately, I like one that has 4 parts to it. And that's reduce waste and add value using continuous improvement, but in a culture of respect. Okay. So it's not just about productivity, it's about doing it in a very respectful, inclusive way with the people who are there in the organization.
Okay. I know that you are a specialist and an expert in serious games.
Yes.
What does it mean, serious games, please? And what is the link between serious games and lean construction, mainly?
Absolutely. So I've had a career that spanned multiple disciplines, and they all are interconnected. And just to let you know, I'm a scientist fundamentally. So one of the reasons I like serious games, by the way, are different from regular games in the sense that there's also an educational component, but it's also an opportunity to test out an idea and to make sure that it's scientifically accurate. As you know, in the world of management, it's difficult to have a perfectly controlled experiment because you have many confounding variables, we say. If you have you would have to have almost identical projects that you would be able to test some sort of experimental influence of one particular variable, right, on a control group, against a control group. But a serious game allows us to do that in a small scale in a very short period of time, and that gives us confidence that whatever we recommend actually is going to work on a larger scale on a job site.
Good, thank you. Could you please give us some examples of serious games?
Absolutely. So there's one that's kind of close to my heart. It's a target value design game that I developed
which is yours?
Is part of, that's one that, yes, I developed along with my graduate student, Manish Munankamani, many years ago when he was at Texas A&M University. And this game, it's kind of wonderful because companies have asked me to send copies of this game, spreadsheets of the game, things like this, which I'm certainly happy to share. I know it's being played in Brazil, it's being played in Ireland, Germany, throughout the United States, and in India, and it spreads. I mean, once we develop a game and we get requests from universities, but we also get requests from industry. So I know it's a valuable and it hits a sweet spot, and it's needed because otherwise they wouldn't ask for it. So it gives people an aha moment also when they play the game. Something like target value design in the world of lean can take a long time. It can take 18 months to actually do a true target value design. It's a way of actually developing a project so that it fits within the budget and the conditions of satisfaction of the owner. And so you have to get the entire team together to collaborate together to make this happen, to make sure that you're able to fill their needs within what they can afford, we call allowable cost.
Okay. We know there's a lot of serious games, and yours is very excellent. What kind of skills, when we practice these games, what kind of skills we expect as outcome, please?
Sure. So what these games allow us to do is certainly take measurements. So it's not just playing a game, but it's really, we can measure time, cost, quality, safety, morale. These are all things that we care about in the world of construction. And to be able to determine whether or not this particular intervention that the game is proposing, we have a control group and we have an intervention group, right, an experimental group, and we can take measurements against that control so we can see the difference it makes. And then when it's scaled up to a job site, we know that it's going to have that same impact, approximately the same impact. The other thing it gives people is an understanding of the scientific process. So I, again, come from the world of I was trained as a scientist. We do something called randomized controlled trials when you want to test a new medication against a control group or a sugar tablet, or you want to test, the impact of smoking, for example, against non-smokers and things like that. So it's the same kind of concept. A lot of times I really like serious games because they give us that kind of scientific certainty that I need to be able to make a recommendation to a company or to students when I teach students. And then it also, I challenge the students to design a serious game as well, one that's never been designed before. And that gives them the ability to develop a scientific experiment in the you know, as a proxy. You know, these serious games are kind of a proxy for what happens on a job site.
Yes, I know that you are a professor and you gave lesson in the university in some rooms or some buildings or some amphitheater. But when you apply serious games, you apply it in the university or you can apply it even on the construction site.
We do it in both.
Both.
And yes, absolutely.
Good.
And a lot of times, for example, I'm very active in the International Group for Lean Construction Conferences. We play these serious games at the conferences, and people who attend the conferences, which are often those from the construction industry, they learn the game and then they take it back to their companies and then they start playing it. And that helps them get this aha moment to understand what it is that particular lean intervention will do for them. So I'll do it. I teach my students how to do it, but I also do workshops with companies as well. So it has a direct impact on our industry. Owners love them because they, a lot of times, had no idea that how much this can help them to make a project much more cost effective and closer to what they really need.
Okay, we know each other that the industry construction industry is facing many challenges and mainly digitalization. Is there any link between serious games and digitalization?
Yes, there is. We actually, well, we can play games in this physical format with Legos, with various, you know, dice and things like this. But we've started to actually digitize the games as well. That happened during COVID, and it allows us to actually play these games, believe it or not, using platforms such as Zoom, and we can put people in different breakout rooms, and we can have them play across different countries. You know, for example, if you have a multinational company, right, that needs to get people to get to know each other, and so they enjoy each other's time together, but they also get the aha moment that we also started to use VR headsets.
Yes.
And so you can play digitally as well. So it really depends to a large extent on the needs of that particular company and the situation that they're in, and so we do both.
Yes, really, we would like really advise the results of your experience. So, example, you are a student. We gave lessons, we gave training for a student, and we would like that the collaboration skills must be very enhanced. What kind of serious games do you advise us for the students?
For students,
yes.
Well, I play the same games with the students as I do with those in industry. So there are several games. I start by playing something called the Repair Code game, which allows them to understand why we have challenges in the industry. It's a wonderful game. It was developed Alan Mossman, who's very active in the lean community, and he adapted a game from John Seddon. But anyway, I play something called the Parade of Trades game, which is, again, these are games that would take a little bit longer to explain what they really are, and I'm happy to explain them at some point. But anyway, and the Target Value Design game. But I must play about. There's dozens of these games, and
yes, for sure. But let's focus on collaboration. What kind of what advice you give us for serious games?
So there is a wonderful game. We call it the Maroon White game. We never actually invented it. It came from another location, but it doesn't really matter because a lot of these games are out there. And it's basically a game we played in 7 rounds. And it's one where people are told that the object of the game is to maximize the number of points. And honestly, the aha moment is that people don't realize that you can't maximize the number of points until you learn to collaborate. And that takes until about halfway through probably around 3 or 4, people start to see it. And then, of course, the thing that's very interesting is if somebody betrays the trust, that, of course, changes the score tremendously, and they start to see the impact. So it really helps people see the importance of things like integrated project delivery and about collaboration. I don't want to give it away too much because that's part of the excitement of the game is that people don't know how it's going to turn out. But we find very consistent results every time we play it. We play it with different types. We played it with companies. We played it with different types of student groups as well and disciplines.
Thank you so much for this advice.
Yeah.
Last year, we worked together. You were the chair of the technical committee of IGLC.
Yes.
And I was the chair of the organization committee.
That's
and we
great,
organized IGLC 31 here in Central Lille. I would like to have your testimony about this event, how it was organized. Then, yesterday we invite you to be our host, to participate for our first conference in lean construction in France.
Yeah.
So the experience that we got together last year.
Yes.
And what is your main observation for yesterday for our first Francophone and French conference on lean construction, please?
Yes. So of course, the IGLC in France and Lille was spectacular. It was one of my favorites, to be perfectly honest. I really enjoyed it. It was very well done. And one of the things about the IGLC in particular, as an organization, I very much like, is we as academics, everything we do is aimed to help the industry. And I know there's sometimes accusations that that people are working in their ivory towers, or they're just sort of writing papers on their own, but in fact, lean has been very much started by people pioneering how they can help our construction industry, and that's architects, engineers, constructors, as well as owners. So it's really the stakeholder team, and that's what I really like about it, is we can see the impact. Yesterday's Congress, I thought was wonderful. I was so encouraged by the enthusiasm of the people in the group.
Okay.
And a number of people came up to me during our coffee breaks and talked to me about lean simulations, and they wanted to continue the conversation. I have an online group that we started during COVID called Administering and Playing Lean Simulations Online. And then people continue to join from around the world. And we just basically, the idea is to not only present different games, but also to give people an opportunity to share their games with us, and we give them feedback. So it's a very lovely community. You're among friends when you're in this community, and there are people who, so I wanted to congratulate you. I thought it was a phenomenal conference yesterday, and like I said, the enthusiasm was palpable.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sophia. Thank you so much, my colleague and our.
You're welcome. I do have one little bit of advice.
Please,
advice for the students who, I think, if the question sometimes comes up about advice for students. I think students should get some experience in industry before they go back to do a PhD or do something in lean. Specifically lean, because that's what really motivates someone to get engaged in lean, is if they see the challenges in the industry, and that's what motivates them to do research. Exactly. If they don't know what the problems are, it's very hard for them to get as motivated. And then for the construction industry, I just wanted to point out that there is, the nice thing about these games, there is no one size fits all. And I'll give you an example. We have tools in our industry that allow you to customize the solution based on the needs of that particular client. So for example, when we play the repair code game, where we have a repair person who may be somebody who's a repair person for, say, a data person who comes to people's homes, and they're based on calls to their call center. If it's we then ask them, first of all, we ask them to brainstorm all the possible reasons why they're not able to, why there's so much variability in their performance in the course of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we brainstorm this, and then we say, imagine that this is to take place in a large city. And then we ask them, imagine that this were to take place in a small town. Well, in a large city, the variability to a large extent is due to traffic issues, and it's long distances that the people have to travel. In a small town, there just may not be that much demand. And so the Pareto chart is a very wonderful way of sharing with the people who are there about this idea that you actually use these histograms that start, and you order them from highest to lowest. And so you attack, of course, the greatest challenge. And then when you come up with a countermeasure, it's a countermeasure that's specific for that particular challenge. So that's very important, because it's the lean framework is really, these are tools that are help the particular team come up with solutions that are customized for that particular situation.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I'm very happy to welcome you here again, and
Thank
it will be not the last one, so you will come again, I hope.
Dr. Lafhaj.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Merci.